Hello, my name's Karina Thompson and welcome to another episode in the series Mastering the Basics of mySewnet Embroidery Software. If you're interested in finding out more about embroidery software, are a subscriber or own a copy of mySewnet, why not subscribe to our free YouTube channel? And that way you won't miss out on any of our episodes. The button to do that is just below. In this film, I'm going to introduce you to the film strip. I'm on a PC computer with the platinum level of mySewnet installed. But what I'm going to show you today, you'll be able to do on any paid-for version of the mySewnet software. So let's talk about what's going on with the film strip. The film strip is over here on the left-hand side, and it's the series of instructions of the stages of a stitch out in the order that they get sent to the machine. Now you might be looking at my embroidery and thinking, well, I can't see these stages here, stages 1 through to 5. And that's because at stage number 8, an applique gets put over everything. So for this to work as an embroidery, really the first step on the film strip should be to do this applique, stage 8. So there's a couple of ways that we can change the order of the film strip. So the first is I'm going to click on stage 8. I know that this has now become the active part of the film strip because it's become a blue box. So if I do a left click on my mouse and hold it down, I can then drag that up. So can you see my pointer's moving up the film strip, and there's like a grey line, and that's indicating which stage on the film strip we're at. And when it's all the way up to the top, I'm going to release that left click, and there is that applique as the first stage on the film strip. And if you look over here in the main part of the hoop, you can now see that that's much more appropriate for what our embroidery is supposed to look like. I'm just going to undo that. Now down in the bottom left hand corner is the Stitch First button, and if I click on this, that will send any stages in the film strip that are selected blue to the very top of the film strip. So I'm going to click it, and you can see it's up here. The other buttons that you might find useful, there's a Stitch Later. So if I click on that, that's just going to send that down one stage, or indeed if I wanted to, I could send it all the way to the bottom here with the Stitch Last button, but I'm just going to move that back to the top by clicking on the Stitch Earlier button. So those buttons are quite useful if you're not very confident on clicking and dragging. Let's take a moment to talk about the small icons beside each stage on the film strip, because they give us information as well. I'm going to click on stage number 4. This is the basic embroidery icon, this little tulip here, and that's telling me that this embroidery, these bells, are probably not an embroidery that I've created in the software, and in this case they're not. These bells are part of the free samples that are available on the download page on the mySewnet website. When you first start using embroidery software, you're probably going to be using lots of other people's embroideries to start off with, just as you're building your confidence. So the chances are you're likely to see this little plain tulip on a lot of the film strip. Let's talk about step number 3 and the small little pink flower icon here. Now that's telling me that this heart embroidery in actual fact has come from the mySewnet Embroidery library. On step 2 I've got an A, and that's telling me that this is a lettering. This is lettering that I've created, and if I wanted to, I know that I could go back in and I could change the font or indeed the wording itself. This icon here on stage 5 is telling me that this is a super design. That's the little tulip, and you can see it's got a lightning flash. And super designs are useful because you can resize them and not lose the quality of definition. But down here we've got something different on stage 7 and 8. Two things are going on. I've clicked on it and straight away you can see instead of having a blue box, I've got an orange box. Now an orange box on the film strip means that we've got a grouped embroidery. And you might find it useful to watch the episode on selecting and grouping, just so that you have a bit more of an understanding of what a group is and how it's a useful thing to have. If I wanted to, I could click the ungroup button if I wanted to break the connection between these two embroideries. But it might be that I don't want to. If I have a grouping and I want to do some editing, but I don't want to actually break that grouping, you might find this button down here a useful button, and it's called Reveal Groups. And if I click on that, you can see that we've still got it still as a group. We still have the 7 and 8, but we are now able to actually do some editing if we wanted to on either parts of that group of the robin. I also want to talk about this icon here, and this is showing me this is a design object. That's not because it's grouped. This icon is telling me how this embroidery is created, and a design object is telling me that this is an embroidery that I have created myself within the software. And that means I can go back into the digitizing module if I wanted to do, and do all sorts of technical stuff like changing the fill pattern. I'm not going to do that today, but I just wanted to show this icon here for the design object. So my golden rules about using the film strip is, remember, it's going to be the order. It's the series of instructions of what you're asking your machine in terms of stitch out. So anything that you want to be done first, make sure it's at the top of the film strip. And golden rule number 2 is just check out what the icon is for each stage of your film strip. If you're not sure of what an icon is, remember, and always go to the Help tab and search for film strip in the online manuals, and that will tell you. I hope you found this a useful film showing the potential of this really useful tool within the mySewnet software. If you've enjoyed this film, please like us and don't forget to subscribe so we can help you master the basics of the mySewnet Embroidery software. Happy sewing!